It's that time again. It's the Berkey and the Badger Board Game Babble Show. It's going to get wild. It's going to get wacky. It might even get a little zany. We're going to talk about board games and the board game industry. And, you know, we might talk about anything else we want to talk about.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for your right honorable King, King Berkey?
Well, hello, Babbleites, and welcome to the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble Show, and to the wonderful kingdom of Babblelot. I'm your honorable ruler, King Berkey, and I host this most honorable, elegant podcast, which is streamed live via YouTube and other direct places like Google Hangout, and later to be involved in an iTunes Stitcher sort of way. Yes, and everyone here in Babblelot is a board game enthusiast, from your humble king right down to the local street minstrel who happens to be a bit of an audiophile producing thingy that I don't quite understand. It's magical and those things. But speaking of the lowest of low, welcome my court jester, Sir Badger.
Yeah, how you doing? You alright? I like this. This is my show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the presence of King Berkey here, who has been ruling the wonderful kingdom of Babblelot for 4 years now. It is 4 years of us.
3 years. 3 years. What are you talking about? 3 years.
Here we go again.
You think it's 4 years because everything is you're like fast. You're ahead of us in France than we are here. So you think it's 4 years, but I think it's 3 years. It's tomato, potato, patata.
Stargate,
plop.
Doctor Who. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's something like that,
Yeah.
if I remember right. Yeah.
So welcome to episode 67. 4 years and 67 episodes. Woohoo! Not as much as some podcasts, I know, but hey.
No, those are just the ones that we recorded.
Yeah.
The other ones were all the mistake ones. We have like 188 hidden episodes that have failed to record or have been redone or are in the archives. Isn't this true? In the dungeon of Babblelot?
Yeah, there's we even engraved some. We didn't actually record them. They were actually like hand engraved into the stonework of actual Castle of Babblelot. There's a tapestry. Someone actually did a tapestry of one episode, but they didn't live long enough to see it through, unfortunately. All these hashtags they had to stitch in were just too much for them. So yes.
Well, tell us about the show. What are we gonna do today?
Well, we're gonna babble quickly about what's been going on in Babblelot. So what we've been up to, and then we're gonna do a roundup of rumors and things that make us go before sliding into a segment we haven't done for a while, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is our first impression segment, and then we're gonna have a stroll through the Woods of Evergreen, which is our look back at the past, and we're going to be going through the section of woods that were planted in 2008. And then we're going to finish off with the Babble topic, which is going to be us babbling about us. Yes, we're going to talk about our origins and why we do this.
It's all about me. It's not about you.
And where are we going?
Oh.
Oh, Your Highness of Throneness, I know you haven't been fighting any dragons or any White Walkers, but you've been extremely busy. Explain what you've been up to.
Wow, a lot has been going on in Babblelot, and the snow, thankfully, is almost gone in Minnesota. Yeah. Minnesota. I mean, we thought we were delivered from it, and then what happens? all of a sudden, we get this 12-inch snowstorm in April. And everything was almost gone. Whammo, there it comes again. But then it left really quickly today, 69 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are loving it.
So yeah, at the moment you're 13 Celsius, and we're having 25 Celsius. Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's 10 a.m. here in Minnesota, or Minnesota now.
Minnesota.
Yeah, sure, you betcha. But that's... This time of year, I love the springtime. I love that time going into summer, so you're getting ready to do your yard, and I love working in the yard. It gives me time to catch up on my podcasts and things of that nature. But I've been really busy getting ready for the UK Games Expo. Woo! I'm so excited about going there. I've never been to Birmingham. Is that the way you say it in English?
Yeah, that's very good. I was very convinced you were a Brummie there.
Well, anyway, no, stop by for a spot of tea and crumpets sometime, eh?
Totally lost it there.
Well, you know. All right. So, super excited about that. We have a very small booth that we secured kind of last minute. We didn't know, because of the launch time of our Kickstarter coming up for Game Toppers, whether or not we'd be able to make it, but it ended up that we're able to make it, and Sir Barry of Babblot is going to be able to join us at the UK Games Expo. We're going to have a blast there, so if you are actually going to be at the Expo, please come by and see the Game Toppers booth. You can talk to Berkey and Badger. We're going to have a good time, but we're also going to be spending a little bit of time at Paul Grogan's house at down in Portsmouth area. No.
He's Dorset.
In England.
He's in Dorset.
Yeah, Dorset.
Yeah.
Dorset. So we're going to have a good time horsing around. We might even film a show there. But really what's been occupying the majority of my time is our upcoming Kickstarter for Game Toppers. Game Toppers LLC, a lot of you have probably heard about, of course, especially if you listen to this show, but we launched our portable gaming top here a couple years ago. We did a Kickstarter in 2017, and thankfully we have fulfilled all of our Kickstarter backers, and we even started fulfilling in February, just a few months after the launch. It has just been a huge success. Everybody is just raving about their Game Toppers. They love them. We're actually almost sold out. I literally have 3 units left. That's how exciting it's been. And so all along, we've been preparing to launch Game Toppers 2.0. And because we had so many new innovations, we've always made a commitment that we're going to make our product backward compatible. Okay, so that if you have an existing Game Topper, you're not going to be left out going, oh, I have to buy a new one. You know, we're not doing that to you. We're going to make sure that our system enhances what you already have. We may be adding new innovations, and so, you know, obviously that requires upgrades at times, but like one of the things that we're doing is our brand new luxuriant line. I sent you a picture of that, Barry. I don't know if you have that oak trim Game Topper there.
I just scroll past it.
I'm gonna give you just a few sneak peeks of what Game Toppers is doing with our Kickstarter upcoming at June 25th. But this is our new luxuriant model with oak trim. Now this is red oak that is natural finish. Last time we had an oak that had a darker Waverly finish. We call it kind of a brown gray. This one here, we're using the HDPE high density polypropylene corners that match our cup holders and all of our designs, but in this really cool looking two-tone type of inlay look. In addition to that, we are going to be offering walnut. So this beautifully finished, clear finished walnut with the beautiful grain of walnut in our luxuriant line, as well as our standard military grade aluminum powder coated black. So that's one thing. One of the other things that we're doing, and there's tons of stuff. I'm not going to take this show to talk about all of it, but I just wanted to give you a couple sneak peeks. Look at this. This here is one of our portable designs for a portable rack for you to store your game mats. Our game mats are, the Game Topper mats are some of the finest mats I've ever played. I know maybe it sounds like I'm shilling, but I love our game mats. I own a ton of them, and these are some of the best mats I've ever played on. 3mm stitched edge, different thematic environments, and back up one there real quick. And what we've done with this rack, so many people were buying 5 and 6 mats, and plus they own a lot of other mats. What they didn't know where to store them. So we started innovating how we can actually store these mats to where they stay nice so they don't get creases. Also provide solutions where you can hang your smaller mats. And that's one of our designs. You can see the picture there. You're going to be seeing that coming up as well. And then storage solutions for the mats for like portable bags. And you're seeing one of our bag solutions here, and these will actually be able to connect to your storage bag for your Game Topper. They'll also be able to hang in the closet, all kinds of different things there. So really reaching out to backers for things. And then this is first time ever seen one of our new thematic Viking themed game mats. Look at that. I gotta tell ya. Is that amazing?
Yeah, who's it by?
This is by the artist Jaroslav. He is a Polish professor of art, and he has been contracted by Grey Fox Games to do the new Reavers of Midgard. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that Reavers artwork, it blew my mind. And I thought, I need to talk to him. So I talked to Shane Myerscough from Grey Fox, owner and good friend of mine. And I said, would you mind if I talk to your artist? And he goes, no, absolutely. And so I said, we want this Viking-themed environment with an ocean in the middle, but having these little Viking elements. And we've been collaborating for about 2 months on the design, and this here is a near-finished proof of that actual design. And I don't know, but I think this baby is going to probably be one of our top-selling mats. And we have a new mat coming also from Ryan Lockett from Red Raven Games. Yeah, baby.
Ooh, very nice.
I see Anthony's in the house, and Tony's in the house, and Chris Whitpan from Game All Night. Yeah, welcome everyone. Yes, Chris, I just mentioned Ryan Lockett's doing a custom mat, and it's in the middle phases of production, so I don't have a proof that I want to show just yet, but amazing stuff. And we have some new mats, new dice towers, new innovative system, collapsible cup holders made out of a rubberized material that actually are dishwasher safe and provide a whole bunch of functionality. I have so much to talk about. I need to stop now, but super excited about what's happening at Game Toppers LLC. So you can check us out on our website. If you want to get one of the last 2 or 3 toppers, jump in, because then they're gone until later this fall when we have production. So with that, that's what I've been up to, Barry. What have you been up to in Babblelot?
Oh, what have I been up to? Not as much as you. I've been trying to catch up, trying to get some gaming done, and trying to not cull my collection, but throw out the ones that are just taking up too much space. And apart from that, I'm looking at a new soundtrack to produce. So, for those of you might not know, you may know the game Abyss from Bombaics.
Love it.
Yep, I am working on a soundtrack for that, but also it's for a new version of Abyss, which is coming. It's like a pocket-sized, small version.
Ooh.
Yes, and that should be coming sometime, probably about Essen, I think they said. So, yeah, there should be a soundtrack before then for Abyss, so if you want some underwater sounds, I will be working on that. Well, I'm working on that now, so...
I love that. We've actually put an LED light above our Game Topper, and it has a Bluetooth speaker in it, and so we've been listening to thematic music when we've been playing games and whatnot, and so it's really been kind of cool doing that.
Yeah, I was a bit miffed that old Mellow... I went on Mellow Dice because it was suggested by, I think, Lance. No, it was Richard Ham suggested that I should, go to use Mellow Dice. And I said, oh, yeah, I'll have a look at that. And I looked at the games that I produced music for, and nobody had put links to the music that I'd done on Mellow Dice. So I was like, okay, get on there. So
Yeah, right?
hopefully now you can hear me when you play some of the games. So, woo!
Well, that's awesome. We're going to keep moving along here. But before we do, we're going to talk about our poll from last show in a few minutes. But I want to mention one of our sponsors. And our sponsor that's been with us from the very beginning has been Arcane Wonders. And Arcane Wonders has a dear place in my heart because initially... when we started out doing our show, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later, we started a channel with my family called Board Game Theater, where we dressed up in costume that was reminiscent of the art assets of the games, and we did these beautiful costumes that my daughters made. And the first one that we did was the Sheriff of Nottingham, as you can see right behind me here. And Arcane Wonders, when I pitched them the idea of what do you think about us dressing up in costume and playing games, they were jumped right on board with that. And so I was the good Sheriff of Nottingham, and our family had this great fun doing that. And subsequently, we began helping Arcane Wonders show off their wonderful Dice Tower Essential games, and they have so many wonderful titles. Sheriff of Nottingham was their first title, and then it went to Onitama, which you see up here. Such a great little 2-player tactical, fun, easy, accessible game. Just a fantastic game. Sheriff of Nottingham, wonderful interaction with little player bluffing abilities and trying to get goods into Prince John's feast. We love Sheriff of Nottingham. We loved it before they were a sponsor, so this is real adoration for this company. And then, of course, Royals came along. Love Royals, and I was the good king of Royals. And that's where we started playing off the Babblelot topic with the king and Badger, the court jester. And then, of course, they came out with Spoils of War, which I was the Viking chieftain, and we dressed up with Lance Meister with this great Liar's Dice on steroids type of game. And now they've done so many more. They have a mech-on-mech game called Critical Mass. They have a new game called Land, Air, and Sea coming out. There's expansions for Sheriff of Nottingham, expansions for Onitama, and of course, all of the wonderful things that Arcane Wonders has done with Mage Wars. They have a little tactical game called Senshi. So many new things are coming out from Arcane Wonders as well. I'm excited about the new offerings that there. So check them out at arcanewonders.com. So you want to talk about the poll from last show before we go into things that make you go,
Yep, on the poll on the last show, as you can see on Board Game Geek here. If you want to go and join our poll, you can go to Board Game Geek. Our guild is 2248, where we post the polls, and obviously where we advertise where our next live show is going to be, because we're miles away from each other. In our last podcast, we were babbling about upgrades and what makes our gaming experience so much better. What upgrade is the best upgrade to get? And I'm not actually screen sharing now, and I should be, because here it is.
There it is.
So I created a list, and unfortunately I didn't get everything on the list. That's why there's a comment section, so people can add comments. And as you can see, we've had 230 votes. Do you want to see the answers?
Yeah, please. Let me show us the answers.
Here they are. As you can see, the biggest vote went to metal coins and poker chips as a...
Yeah!
How many games are actually doing that now?
I only voted 200 times for that one.
Yeah, so 153 votes for medal coins and chips. That's something that you actually do when you buy a game. You go, oh, this game needs some coins. Next up, looking very quickly, it's the box insert, which I kind of think, that box inserts are a great addition because so many publishers don't have the money, time, and resources to do it themselves, and they just put something which will hold your game in it when it goes through delivery, and then when you get it, it's up to you what you do with it. And then following on with that, with 100 votes, we have a bits tray.
Bit trays.
Trays. Yeah. Very practical.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
Well, and you're seeing so many different kinds of them now. We're going to actually have some on our Kickstarter for Game Toppers as well, some new different ways of doing it that are going to be really cool. But a lot of people love them to store things, to transport their coins, their bits, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed to see that people are not really interested in soundtracks. Maybe that will change with time.
Yeah, and I think too, this is a small sample size, so if this had 1,000 different people voting on it, I think we'd probably see more interest in different things. But yeah, it's some people are distracted by sound. Yeah, also.
Yeah, true. One of the things I forgot to mention was card sleeves, and that was brought up a few times by a few people on the poll.
Like Tony is saying, resource tokens were third.
Resource tokens. Oh yeah, they were third. Sorry. And then fourth was bits trays. There you go. I'm dyslexic. I can't read numbers.
Well, I thought when you look down at gaming tables, that number was really low.
As well, yeah. It's
well, they're not as accessible for a lot of folks. Where smaller things are more accessible price-wise, budget, space, all of those kind of things. But if we put the poll on what do you want the most, I'll bet you board game tables would be way up on the top.
Possibly, yeah. So there you go. Thank you very much for voting on the poll. If you voted, look out for another poll. We're going to do one on this show. We'll talk about that a bit later. Things that make us go, Board game news. Berkey and Badger reflect on the current events that are happening in the board game industry. Some may be good, some may be bad, but there are all things that make us go,
Oh, that was an abrupt ending.
Yeah, I know.
I was still typing.
You were still typing. Oh, you were still doing
it. Yeah, it's a finger dance. So, the Badger, what has been making you go,
what's been making me go, is I forgot to research beforehand. But something that Eric Martin said on one of the latest Board Game Geek News videos was that he's seeing a lot more. You know, we talk about all these games coming out every year, and there's more and more games coming out every year. But he was talking about basically a lot of the games which are coming out every year now are reprints. And there seems to be more and more reprints surfacing and having like a lick of paint on it, or maybe just being put through a different publisher due to the fact that the old publisher's gone out of date, and obviously the game has gone out of date. So that made me go, because that would obviously count as quite a large percentage of the games if you think about it. I mean, when they talk about how many games come out every year, and it's like now in the thousands, how many of them are actually going to be reprints or just like spin-offs of other games which are already out, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that made me go, because maybe we're doing the Hollywood thing. We're running out of ideas as designers, and we're revamping everything. You know.
Well, I think a lot of these games too that are reprints, they're either a deluxeified anniversary edition and or something that's maybe been out of print.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so I think that there's been some of that treatment going on to bring it back.
Yeah, and that's nice to have something being brought back because it went out of print especially if it's got a lot of buzz around it. Again, I've been in close contact with Super Meeple, and most of their games are reprints of older games, and they've done like a stellar job of representing it, repackaging it, and even slightly tweaking it to make it better and make it more modern, more hip and happening and bitching, you know. But you know, it's nice to see this, and you know, again, when the themes change but the mechanisms are the same, maybe like Dune and Rex, and for example with Super Meeple it was Attica and US Telegraph. It feels like a different game in a way.
And Tasty Minstrel Games kind of did a redone version of Colosseum from Days of Wonder.
Oh, yeah.
And while the mechanics are virtually the same, the art direction was quite a bit different. So that took on some controversy, and yet the game was so fantastic. And it was still done well by Tasty Minstrel. It was just done differently.
Yeah.
Which that caused some tension. You know, I love my Days of Wonder version much better than the new version, but I was thrilled that they they brought it back so it was accessible again, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah,
that made me go, And maybe one year it'd be like a 50-50 split of new designs and reprints. Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been seeing a lot of people, the Secret Cabal, just Jamie Keggy put out a YouTube video talking about some of this as well. Games that you'd like to see reprinted. The Dice Tower's been talking about these topics too. So obviously it's starting to become a little bit of a thing.
And that's why the Dice Tower is doing their essential line, is they are games that are being reprinted because they were great and they disappeared, but they need to be, you know, put back into the spotlight.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with that. They did that with Robin Hood, which was rethemed
as
Sheriff of Nottingham. Mm-hmm. But their Dice Tower Essential games basically are new games that Tom Vassell is bringing to Arcane Wonders.
Okay, sorry, I misconstrued it.
Yeah, but they, you know, that was about the only one, was the Robin Hood kind of redone as Sheriff of Nottingham. Okay. But well, there's been some things that have happened very recently. I don't know if many media people are even covering it at this point, because it's fairly new, but this very much made me go, and it has to do with Kickstarter. Kickstarter recently canceled a completed game, the game from Colossal Games called Papillon, if I'm saying it right. And this campaign had completed, successfully funded, and then Kickstarter canceled it and refunded everybody's money because they felt that it was breaking the spirit and the rules of Kickstarter by having multiple games on Kickstarter running at the same time by a company. You'll see this in the threads. Daniel Zayas from Tabletop Backer Kit, they made a big post about it. Derek Funkhauser from Board Game Spotlight had a big thread on it. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of this because this is a big buzz topic now. Yeah. A huge variety of comments going on about it, and give you a little bit more background. I'm not an expert on the details of all this. I don't have personal knowledge of all of it, so this is a little bit third hand, but the thing that made me go, is that I've never seen a precedent like this for a completed project. Generally, when you go to Kickstarter, you have a pre-approval process. You're pre-approved. You launch the campaign. Mm-hmm. If you're doing something outside the rules of Kickstarter, generally that's where they're going to say, no, you can't do this because such and such. You know, your bank account isn't legitimate. Yeah. Or if you've broken some rule that you're doing the exact same thing, you can't run the exact same type of Kickstarter, things of this nature. But what concerns me and what gave me a lot of pause and made me go, is that Colossal Games, they have run about 8 different Kickstarters, as I understand it, but they've only fulfilled a few of them.
Ah, okay.
One of them is Western Legends, which was fulfilled, a couple other games, but then they started launching a bunch of Kickstarters. And my understanding is they had plans to launch like 12 Kickstarters in a year. So they launched this campaign. It goes well. They complete their funding. They cancel it. And then what happens? They totally cut it off. Kickstarter does. Well, how is that fair to other companies that have a bunch of unfulfilled projects? Can I say CMON?
Ooh.
You know, Come On has how many projects that are in the pipeline? Many other companies that are well-respected companies that have many games in the pipeline. So I don't know. There may be a lot of things behind the scenes here that Kickstarter identified that caused them additional concerns.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's kind of unprecedented. And I know Maple Games had a project that they were running with Folding Space, and The Hunt for Ravenger was also another product. I don't know if Maple was with The Hunt for Ravenger, but they are similarly owned by a certain CEO. So I know Surfing Meeple is involved with some of those companies as well. Mm-hmm. And so here you've got a joint entity that's running multiple Kickstarters at the same time, but through different names or company entities.
Wow.
It really makes you go,
That does make you go, I mean, if you compare, can't say it, so you want Cool Mini. If you compare Cool Mini and Colossal, Mini, obviously, they've made a fortune from their games, and probably Kickstarter don't see that as a problem. You know, how many games have Cool Mini, have they fulfilled already? Whereas Colossal, if they've only fulfilled one game and they got 10 on Kickstarter, it would, send alarm bells ringing, because they've collected all this money already for all these other games and haven't fulfilled. And that's that's where the controversy is. I think people are very concerned on both sides, because while I feel like we all want to have backer protection, we don't want to see campaigns that are raising money and then because of mismanagement, out and right fraud, or just poor business acumen. There's some people that think they might be a great designer, they might be a great artist, whatever, good creator, but they don't know how to run business. I mean, so having business acumen is important too. And if they don't do their diligence, or they run into unexpected things and the campaign fails and everybody's out. So you also don't want Kickstarter to be a Ponzi scheme. No.
Where you're just funding a new Kickstarter to pay for the past one that didn't do as well as you would hope.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the reason for Kickstarter.
And I think that's where the backers are concerned, is like, hey, before you should run another campaign, you should fulfill your first. But the problem is the timelines to fulfill games. It's a year.
It depends how much work they put in beforehand. I mean, if you look at Monolith with their Claustrophobia, they put a lot of work in before the Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter was fulfilled pretty quickly due to the fact that they prepared it all. They just wanted to see how much funding they could get. Obviously they knew roughly how much funding they could get because they pre-ordered 10,000 copies. But at the same time, it's,
Well, it has a lot to do with business models too.
Yeah.
If you have a business model that you're going to capitalize using Kickstarter, you have to make sure that you really have solid business. When we started Game Toppers, I had a 25-page business plan with a 5-year projection, and I was not relying on a future Kickstarter to be able for me to fulfill my current. I knew what I needed, and I knew what capitalization, and I also had other funding available had I needed it to make sure I could deliver on my promise. And a lot of folks may not have that kind of forward-thinking business acumen to plan and to take into account for contingencies. I had a lot of contingencies for fluctuations in currency, for instance. Because there's a few, some of our game mats and the storage bags, for instance, were purchased in China, and you can have currency fluctuations. And I know one Kickstarter campaign in the UK actually lost like 20% of their Kickstarter funding due to currency issues that they hadn't accounted for.
Yeah.
And there's so many variables with transit costs, with tariffs right now. Being a North American United States company now, and there being some trade war issues, you have to really be careful about these things. And anyway, you have to take that into account, that people are using Kickstarter as a funding model for their business.
Yeah.
And if Kickstarter cuts that out from under you, what happens when you've just spent $20,000-$30,000 advertising a campaign, and then they say, nope. They pre-approved you, but then after the fact, they say nope?
Yeah. It's a tough one. Maybe we should get Travis on the show and chat to him about it. I'm thinking maybe Colossal probably just got very kind of like, oh, this is fun. This is a good game. Oh, we've got all the artwork already. Oh, let's put this on Kickstarter now. And they were gradually building up their speed of their train, and they didn't realize that this was something that could happen. But at the end of the day, Kickstarter, they're trying to protect themselves as well. They don't want to be walked over. So I can understand their side. You give your daughter a sweet, then she gives you a kiss on the cheek, and then you give her another sweet, you don't get a kiss, and then you give her another sweet, you don't get a kiss, and you give her several other sweets, and you're still waiting for a kiss. And eventually you're going to say, well, I'm going to stop giving you sweets. So, yeah. It's
interesting.
It's very interesting. That is a subject on its own.
Well, and just today, Daryl Andrews, who's been on our show and is a good friend of mine, I highly respect Daryl. He recently was let go as president of Maple Games.
Oh, was he?
And yeah, just announced it today on Facebook. And I was like, oh no, what happened? And then all this news came out about Kickstarter and them launching, this game, Folded Space, at the same time as Colossal. They're tied together entities. Yeah. I don't know how that all played together. It made me go, Yeah. I honestly don't know the details. I don't have a trust issue with Colossal Games fulfilling their games or Maple Games fulfilling, but perhaps Kickstarter did for whatever reason.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to affect the Takenoko Deluxe Edition, because again, that's surfing Meeple.
And I honestly don't know all of the corporate structure. It's possible they had shared business accounts, and that's what threw a flag. Or, sometimes you have a campaign and it starts to get really negative or something, and people start belly aching to Kickstarter. You get some trolls in there, and it causes it to come up on the radar for some reason. Or
I remember there was a lot of negativity for Holy Grail Games because they had like 3 or 4 projects on Kickstarter, and only one of them had been, sent back out. Luckily now 3 of them have been sent out, and so they can start producing more Kickstarters, which is
well. Interesting to follow this. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm all for protecting the backers. I really am. So I do have that same concern that abuses are thwarted. But on the other side, I understand the people that are using it for their business model, and that's a little bit of a scary precedent that after the fact, they can just cut the legs out from underneath you.
We shall see.
Well, with that, we will move on to our next segment. This is something we've been doing right from the beginning, our impression segment. The good. The not so bad. Wait for it. Well, all of our memes have to do with Barry and me. Yep, it's all about us.
It's all about us.
These were some pictures we took. It was surprising, all the pictures I took in France and Germany when we were together, how few pictures I actually have of you and I.
Together, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have many on my phone at all due to the fact that I'm not a selfie person. I am, I like taking pictures of landscapes or maybe an event, or if I see like a worm break dancing, I'll take a picture of that. But no, I'm not. It's like always afterwards. I'm like, oh, I should have taken pictures. I've just been speaking to Eric Summerer, and I should have taken a selfie together. And it's like I'm always having to rely on the other person to have done the selfie. It's like Rodney Smith. Like, Rodney, where's that selfie of us? And he goes, here it is. And I was like, oh, thank you.
I keep forgetting it too.
It wasn't a dream. It was reality. We actually did sit down and have like a good 2-hour chat at 5 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. So, yeah.
Yeah, I forget sometimes too. And it's helped a little bit with Game Toppers because I wear my top hat. And people love getting a selfie, especially the backers and friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's been kind of a fun reminder, but... Anyway, talk about our memes.
Okay, let's go to the good meme. This meme, this photo was taken not far away from Notre Dame, where we went to a cafe and it started to rain, and so we decided to have coffee. And so I'm sat here looking mopey, and Berkey's put these quotes, not me. He says I'm saying, if he says that again, I just don't know what I'll do. And that stupid bloody pirate joke.
You know why pirate jokes are funny, don't you?
Oh.
Because they just are. I know.
Yeah.
I love it. I do love that joke.
I'm not so bad as just us on the road to the Champs-Elysees.
I did not know how to meme that one. We look like two monkeys going... Woo, woo, woo,
yeah, we do look like the two monkeys picture that we have.
Maybe we're trying to blow smoke rings, but we're not smoking.
Yeah, maybe. And then our ugly is us underneath the Eiffel Tower, not kissing them.
Oh, yeah. No.
How's this for a nice smile? Not that nice. But anyway...
He's making that face again.
So, yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly is our first impression segment of games that we've played for the first time. And we tried... for me, it's hard to do first impressions because I just try to feel, the theme, and get the game. So...
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we're just going to give you first impressions. We're going to do this in kind of a gamey style. We're going to give a brief description, see if you guys can guess it in the chat. You guys listening to the podcast, it's been mixed, can guess it, and obviously the other person who we're talking to. So I'm talking to him and he's talking to me. So, do you want to take it away with the first game?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got a game that comes from a pretty well-known designer. I won't mention the name right now. It also has anthropomorphic animals.
Okay.
Did I say that right? I can never say that word. Anthropomorphic.
Okay.
Something like that.
Last time you said animals. That was for good critters. I think you've already told us about good critters.
Okay, it's like that, but it's not good critters. It has an economic component to where you're doing resource collection, so it has Euro mechanisms, but these resources go up and down depending on what is being bought and sold. Mm-hmm. Okay? It also has a theme to it that is you've seen a lot of these games back in the 80s and 90s, like Railroad Tycoon. We had Roller Coaster Tycoon. Well, this is a different game with that type of feel.
This is Racky Tycoon.
Raccoon Tycoon. That's exactly what it is.
I was just playing with the words there. I didn't know I'd get it.
Well, that's what it is. It's Railroad Tycoon. And this game is from Forbidden Games, and the designer is Glenn Drover. And he did Age of Empires. He's done so many amazing games. Really a great designer. This here game plays 2 to 5 players. You play it in 60 to 90 minutes. I would consider this a little bit more of a family weight game. And it has a lot of these, cutesy art cards or these big tarot-sized cards. A lot of different resources that are moving up and down the track. So what do you think I think about this game?
Okay. I know you like Ticket to Ride, but this is resource gathering. And I know you like resource gathering. I'm going to say you think this game's good. It looks cute. You didn't give me much about the game to go from.
Yep, I was trying to just tease a little bit. Yeah, it's absolutely good.
Okay.
You're correct. Yay! The reason I say it's good, I've actually played this game a lot more than First Impression. Since I picked it up at Essen, I bought the game. I just... there's something about it. It has this feel of the game Speculation from Queen Games. It also has kind of some mechanism that's reminiscent of Stockpile that I really enjoy that game. There's lots of resources that are going up and down, but when you sell resources, say I had 3 wheat and the wheat was up to, $10. Well, as soon as I sell that wheat, it's going to go down $3. So when somebody else is selling, it's affecting the track before maybe you get to your turn. So you're collecting a certain amount of resources, but you have these buildings that you can buy that allow you to have more than 10. Each person gets to have 10 resources. If you have more than that, you got to get rid of them. So then you buy these buildings and warehouses that allow you to have more, so you have more flexibility to make the right deal at the right time. But obviously you're trying to get, 7 or 8 of these resources so that you can sell at the highest point. And then there's this auction mechanic to buy these different towns and or these railroad cards or these tycoon cards that are these animals. And if you get a set of 4 of them, you get the most points at the end of the game. There's only 4 in each category, but it might be worth 4, 8, 15, 21 points, whatever, depending on the character.
Yeah.
So there's a set collection, but you got to use resources, and then there's this bidding back and forth to see who gets which one. And every time we've played it, my family has loved this game. A really great game. Raccoon Tycoon from Forbidden Games, Glenn Drover, designer.
Okay, it looks nice. And maybe, that might go down well here.
Yeah, I love it. Highly recommend it if you like that kind of game.
Okay, out of all the games that I've got here piled up on the floor to talk about in the good, the bad, the ugly section, this is the only one which is really, really a first impression, because all the other ones are first impressions of Kickstarter games which have arrived, which I've played the prototype, so beware. Okay, in this game, are you ready, people?
Ready.
In this game. You are a bunch of teenagers working cooperatively to get back to your normal state. You've all arranged to go out to the local bowling alley, but all of a sudden the world has just turned upside down and you're all teleported into different parts of your village, town, wherever it is. But everything has a nightmarish look and feel about it. And you're cooperatively storytelling your way to try and get yourself to that bowling alley so you can meet up and win the game. There's no boss to fight, but hey.
Okay. I don't have a clue.
Nope. And the chat doesn't have a clue. Maybe Kabuki.
Yeah, is there anyone in the chat? Is Kabuki Kid here yet?
No, she's not here. Maybe we're too early.
Well, that's the thing. We start at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
I mean, good grief, everybody's still in bed.
Okay. No clues. Okay, this is the new game from Sorry We Are French called Greenville 1989. Which...
Oh, wow.
is a storytelling game based on the Dixit mechanism, but it's not Dixit, okay? Yes, these cards, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be looking at cards, and these cards are like multiple images of kind of Cthulhu-esque and horror things. So as you can see, there's like a bloody telephone, and there's a bat over the moon, and there's handprints, and there's all kinds of stuff on one picture, and then there's like these tentacles breaking through a mirror, and there's a knife with blood on it, and there's a dresser and something coming out the drawer. You know, it's a storytelling game. You just got to guess where you're going. Every player will start with a card in front of them. They will describe that card, what images are on it to the other players, and they'll also put themselves in that situation. They are there, and they will tell a bit of story of, you know, what they see, how they're feeling, and what they're planning to do. Once every player has done that, apart from one, who's like, you know, kind of like the apples to apples thing, that player will draw a load of cards, and then they will allocate a card to each player, but they won't tell which player which card is allocated to them. And then it's up to the other players to guess which card has been allocated to them by the guide. And that's where the storytelling comes from, because if you tell a good story about your fears or whatever, maybe in the next image there's something that will link to you, your character, and your story, and your current location. And basically you're just trying to get 4 cards in front of you, so you're trying to get to the bowling alley. So once everyone's done that, everybody's won. But if it doesn't happen, what happens is you get lost in the kind of like the Twilight Zone, and you lose. Cooperative.
Well, that sounds interesting. I think you like storytelling a lot, but I'm not sure that you're a big Cthulhu fan. And then by your last statement, where it maybe can go off the rails, maybe that's not as exciting for you. So I'm going to say not so bad.
Ooh, wrong. It is good.
Wrong. It's good.
It is good. Admittedly, I played in French, so but it's just a storytelling game. It's I don't know. It's kind of role playing. You're reading off of a card, and you're making up a story of where your character is, and you're hopefully projecting enough clues to lead to the guide and make them pick the right card for you. And again, all these cards are completely different, but there are some key elements which link two together. Maybe there's a red balloon in 2 cards, or maybe there's, one's got a forest and so is the second card, so maybe the character's still in the forest. It's a nice kind of guessing game. It's a nice kind of, opening up and, being creative. And I found that really enjoyable. And, again, it's referenced in the 80s. So there's a lot of 80s icons like Simon, and then there's lots of horror 80s references like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and shows things like that. So you can just kind of like tie that in with your imagination, and it works really well.
The artwork looked really good. It looked a little dark.
It's very dark, but it's fantastic. There's so many little details. My main worry about the game is once you've played it too many times, the cards become repetitive, and so your stories might become repetitive. But hopefully there'll be an expansion and then more cards. The art is fantastic.
Okay.
It's definitely going to win an award, I think, for 2019. Best artwork.
Wow. All right.
So that's Greenville, 1989.
Greenville?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I hadn't heard of that at all.
No, it's only out in France at the moment. It's coming to the rest of the world. It's available. You have to buy it in France. It's in English, but it's only a French publication.
Well, I've been playing a game that I play with my dear friend Kay King. Kay is just she's like another daughter to me. I just love her and her fiance Andy and her son Daniel. They've been to our home several times, and Kay, a lot of you know her as Level Up Kay. But I've had the opportunity to play this game with her a couple different times out going to the Gamma Trade Show. And Kay helped us a lot with our first Kickstarter, and she helped us with Game Toppers at the Gamma Trade Show. Bless her heart. she was such a great help. But she loves this game. She's made little mini components with her 3D printer for this game.
I know what it is now.
So now you know what it is. This game is some beautiful artwork from a real noted female artist who's really popular. She does beautiful artwork. I'm very impressed with it. The aesthetic of this game is crazy off the hook, in my opinion. It has to do with a fowl. It's a lot of fowl. No, it has to do with birds, everybody. Yeah. So, of course, you know what it is. I won't belabor it then.
Yes, Wingspan.
It's Wingspan from Stonemaier Games, art by Beth Sorbel. I personally don't own it yet because I haven't been able to get a copy yet, and I wasn't going to pay $200 on eBay for it. But we got to play it. These little tokens that Kay made for it were fantastic with the little birds for all your actions. And it's basically an engine building game. You know, it has a little bit of a deck building kind of, well, not quite deck building, but an engine building with cards that give you different player abilities. You have a lot of actions. You're using these beautiful little eggs to create the ability to do additional things. So that's in a nutshell. It's not a very good description of Wingspan, but it's basically engine building, I think, if I were to categorize it. So what do you think I think about that?
I think you thought it was good. It's fluffy, it's old manish.
Old manish, you say? Have I been insulted in Babblelot by the gesture?
Uh-oh.
You just called me old manish. This gray has nothing to do with age. It's all about mileage.
Okay. Not the amount of guinea fowl you've eaten.
I think it's good. I've played it 3 times, so a little bit more than a first impression, but I want to play it again. That tells you something. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was overly complex. It doesn't feel like it's anything that was crazy innovative.
No.
So I paused a little bit to go, well, not so bad, because it's nothing really new. But I thought the production, of course, it's Stonemaier Games. The artwork is fantastic, which I just love the little bird facts. I'm an outdoorsman. I live in rural Minnesota on 11 acres. We feed the birds, so I love seeing the grosbeak, red-chested grosbeak that we get here, and the cardinals and the different sparrows. Plus, I paint wildlife, and I do a lot of wildlife with ducks and pheasants, and so I enjoy that. So from that aspect, it was great. The gameplay, it was good. It wasn't earth-shattering, but I still want to play it, so I think it's good.
Yeah. I've played it once, and I don't see what all the fuss is about. It's just like everyone's going on about how great it is. It's a good game. It's solid. I'm drawn in by the artwork myself, because I used to be a teen with my little book, with the books that you could buy with all the birds in it, and the little box next to it, so you can tick it and say, I've seen that one. I've seen that one. Yeah, I was one of those. I'm still one of those. And I love the artwork. And it's, again, when we were playing, I was like, a card would come up into the pool, and I go, oh yeah, that's a lesser spotted woodpecker. And I'm like, but
well, and it's got these interesting mechanisms with the birds of prey, that allow you to catch different size birds, and that was kind of cool. I thought the way that worked, and
there's lots of interweaving bits and bobs based on the names or the different how many eggs they can lay, and as you said, what they eat,
and fun bird facts. I mean, there's some good facts about bird watching, and so I think there might be some crossover into the birder community, the people who are bird watchers that'll go, hey, this is a game about birds. They love the art, and it might bring them a little bit into the gaming hobby. And I bet games like this will go really well at like a Barnes and Noble and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my main disappointment is some of the components. Some of them are fantastic, like the bird feeder with dice tray, but some of the components are just like really, really cheap.
Yeah, I didn't care for the dice tower very much, and I didn't care for the cardboard chits for your action tokens. And that's where Kay made these little birds of each color, so you had those to put out, which were cool.
Yeah.
And then all of the resources, you know, the worms and the fish and all that stuff, she made little 3D. And that, to me, like, without that, I'd be a little bit bored with the components of the game. Except for the eggs were awesome, and the art is awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Wingspan from Stonemaier Games.
Okay. My last game is a game where you're crime fighting.
You're what?
Crime fighting.
Crime fighting.
And there's a pow. And a biff.
Oh. Biff.
And a
Oh.
kablami.
Oh. Holy Batman berry.
Yes! Batman.
You got it in, huh?
I got it in. So I've played the final production copy after all these years of playing the prototype copy with cardboard chits and the same scenario over and over again. Oh wow, this thing it's another Monolith production. It comes with some fantastic artwork, some fantastic minis. It uses the same mechanisms as Conan.
So I'm just going to say right now, it's absolutely good.
Yeah, I for me, it's good. It's better than Conan because it's Batman, and I know the universe of Batman.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the game. It's fantastic, I hear.
Okay, yeah, it's a one versus many, where one player will be in control of a group of villains. You'll have like a lead villain like Joker or maybe Riddler, and then all their henchmen. You'll have a mission, and then there'll be the other players, which will be the heroes. They'll each take a different hero individually, and they will try and thwart your plans. Simple as that, but it's done with an energy resource mechanism. So all the heroes have energy cubes, which they can assign to do actions. The more energy you assign, the more powerful that action becomes. So you can do a piff, or you can do a kablami. Yeah. But obviously this resource is not infinite, it's finite. And so you can get whittled away by these guys shooting at you, or maybe doing stormtroopery, missing you everywhere. And for the villain player, it's slightly different. You have a control panel, and you have this river system where you can spend energy to activate a tile in that river. That tile may activate one major baddie, or it may activate a group of thugs of one type. And again, that's in a river, so the cheapest ones are on the left, the expensive ones are on the right. Once you've used one, it comes out and slides to the back, so it becomes expensive, making other things cheaper. So there's a nice system of, you know, having to contemplate which characters to activate, when to activate them, and, you know, how much should you really spend on rerolls. It's a dice chucking fest. It also comes with a versus mode, so two players can have these control tablets, and then they can create their armies, having like a leader and a lieutenant, and then some thugs, and go head to head in a scenario again, trying to stop bombs, or trying to save civilians, or trying to hack computers. And we played a different scenario for once. Me and my daughter sat down, and she whipped my ass, because I thought I knew the rules without reading the rule book. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to playing it again tonight after this podcast with Charlotte again. We're going to play the versus mode, I think, and then we'll probably play it a lot more as time goes on.
This is one of my big regrets about that one of the games that I did not back. It was right when I was knee deep in the middle of our own Kickstarter with Game Toppers, so I didn't have. I just wasn't on my radar in the way I saw it, and you know, and it was a bigger ask as far as money, but I was just, that wasn't so much. I was just busy and hadn't know if am I going to play this, you know, that type of thing, but I regret it because I hear such great things. I hear everybody really loving the production value, the gameplay, all of that.
Don't worry. Just remember June 6th. it's coming back to Kickstarter with some new content.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, wonderful. That might be pretty cool then.
Yes.
Well, that's great. Well, we're going to move right on to our segment, The Woods of Evergreen.
And here we are in the woods of Evergreen with our good king, King Berkey, and his faithful little pet, Badger, as they take a stroll along these wonderful parts of Babblelot, looking at the wonderful trees and reminiscing about those wonderful games from those past eras, even maybe before these trees were planted. And they are going to be talking about these games like they still like to play. And this time, on this beautiful Sunday morning, they're going to be talking about games which came from the year 2008.
Woods of Evergreen! These are the games that we feel last, that they have the test of time behind them. They continue to be good. And these games were developed in the year 2008. We're going to give you a brief explanation of each game, and we're going to each do 3. After we get up to our current date, we're going to recycle and go back to other games that we missed, because there's a potload of them in here that I'm sure all of us could talk about.
And again, by the time we recycle, we might have played a game, an older game, because I know that I've played a few reprinted older games since we started doing this Woods of Evergreen. And you never know, that might slip onto the list as well. So
you need to keep a database of when we do these segments so that we don't do a repeat of what we've already said.
Okay, well, I'll set up a Google Doc, and then we can both add it all on.
You demand.
It might be easier that way, and then we can just scroll through it. So yeah, if you're in the watching live, jot down some of your favorite games from 2008. Yes,
2008.
So I've written it down here. 2008. Put them in the
go
comments,
ahead.
and we'll read them out.
What is a game from 2008 that you found wonderful?
Oh wow, this one is it's called Stone Age. This is probably going to be a lot of crossover on our lists here, but a lot of good games come out in 2008. I think that was like the starting point of like the colossal games hitting the shelves and becoming overnight sensations and household names for board gamers anyway, or people that watch the Dice Tower. But Stone Age is a worker placement game which I want to play. We've played quite a lot of times. It's a multiplication kind of game. You're getting resources and doing stuff like that with worker placement, but everything is multiplication, where you go send 3 guys to the forest, you do 3 dice, you roll those 3 dice, that tells you how many of that resource you get. But you'll be buying these tiles with resources, which are multiplications of how many people you have, how many huts you've built, or things like that. So your scores are going to be ginormous. Normally in a family-style game, they're like, oh, I got 57 and you got 54. Haha. But in this game, you're going to have people that are going to go, I got 221 and you got 142. I win. Because of the multiplication in the powers of the tiles. This is one of those fun but major head-scratching worker placements games that I have. It's one of the biggest head-scratchers that I have.
Well, this is a crossover. This is one of mine, so I'll just put my 2 cents in with it, so I won't bring this one up as my choice. It is my choice. But likewise, we've played this online before with tabletop.
Arena.
What was the Arena?
Yeah.
And I've played this with Patrick Kelly from Blue Peg Pink Peg, actually, as well on Tabletop Arena. And it's one of those, I think, quintessential gateway worker placement games, because it's so easy to teach this game. And it does have dice rolling. So when you do your worker placement, you're putting up your workers to find out how many of these resources you actually get. And then you have the breeding hut, of course. That's where aggressive breeding happens. If you ever watch Will Wheaton's version of Tabletop, where they actually did Stone Age, That was a very fun, interesting episode. But you, when you get to the breeding hut, then you're going to get more workers, and so you're trying to. You got these little special abilities too with those weapons and tools that you can get that can increase your ability to gain more. And like you say, getting the huts, and there's a set collection kind of aspect to some of that.
Yeah.
You're trying to combo them a little bit to get extra points, and
as I said, they're all multipliers, so it's like, yeah.
And it looks great. We love this game. I have the expansion for it too, but I think I only partially played through one time with the expansion, and so it sits in the box. But yeah, love Shack, love Shack.
Yeah, it's thematic. It's beautifully presented, and it's always fun to play for me.
Yeah, great game.
I don't think it's going to.
Well, so we both say Stone Age. Well, I'm going to say another game that I believe still deserves love, even though a lot of people feel like it's maybe too basic or outdated. But it's Dominion. Of course. So we were picking. Is that one of yours?
Yep.
Well, Dominion was the first time I think that we really saw on a large scale deck building. And it was so accessible. But it had a lot of fun. I mean, when we first got to play it, I couldn't wait to play it again. And then I wanted to play it again and again. And before you know it, they're coming out with an expansion. And then you wanted to play that. And then they had another expansion. Before you know it, you had a stack of 9 boxes full of Dominion. And you had to figure out how to sleeve them because you played with these cards over and over and over. I don't know. To me, it still stands up. If someone wanted to play Dominion right now, even though I know there's other games that have taken that mechanism, that deck building concept, and have improved it and made it more interactive and expansive, I still love Dominion.
Yeah. And I think, again, Dominion was one of those games which is like the first one to do multiple expansions way before like Ticket to Ride did. And, normally a game would come out with 1 or 2 expansions. Oh, wait a minute, I'm forgetting Carcassonne. Carcassonne did that as well. But it's just one of those really simple, light, fluffy deck builders to get people into. It's very simple. The theme is not really there, and you're just concentrating on, trying to get the right cards into your deck or get the right ones out of your deck.
Learning how to call. And when we talk about the renaissance of gaming and the rise of gaming worldwide, we're in this time frame right now that we're talking about 10, 11 years ago that all of this started really blossoming. I mean, it started earlier, of course, but this is a big deal.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that might be a good idea, actually, to retheme the game into board games. And so you're deck building, so you're trying to build up a collection of board games, but then you got to cull them as well.
I tell you what, that might work.
A real board gamer's game. They can even also, you can also use it to like maybe cull your collection just by having all the cards and going, okay, right, let's shuffle them, let's randomly draw one. Right, I've got to throw that one away. There you go, Cosmic Encounter in the bin.
Well, so why don't you tell us your third then?
Okay, my third. This possibly is maybe this may be yours as well, but might not. I don't think. Mine is the game that I talked about earlier, Dixit, where it's basically a kind of creative, selective game where one player tells a story from a card in their hand, and each card has these beautiful, really abstract images on them, and they create a story, maybe a sentence of the story, or maybe a word of the story, or maybe a sound of the story, and then everyone looks at their cards and picks one which they think represents that story as well, and then all these cards get mixed up, and then players vote on which card they think was the storyteller's. And so it becomes a deduction game because you can see what card you've played, but at the same time, you're trying to get votes. And it's a very light and fluffy game. It's got multiple cards that you can now play with, and it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those very easy games to get into, especially when you talk the same language.
Mm-hmm.
it's about knowing it's a game about knowing people as well.
Yeah, I know people love this game. Surprisingly, I've never played it.
Oh, right.
So I hear people love the art, and I know there's lots of expansions. People, use those quiver sleeves even so they can store all their Dixit and take them and travel with this game. And, it's an accessible, almost party-style type of game too, right?
Yeah, it's more of a kind of a thing. The word, I had the word in my mouth and it's gone. More of an ability, not an ability. Help me out here. It's more of an eventment. It's more of
an activity.
Activity. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, it's more of an activity than a game because it's just being creative and being imaginative. And as I said, knowing the other players.
That's a whole nother Babble topic. Activity versus game. Boy, people like to argue about that one.
Yeah.
Well, my last one was not Dixit because I haven't played it. But my one, many of you know, I'm not a big cooperative fan. Games that are cooperative that have a hint of alpha dog players that want to tell the whole team exactly what to do and tell them why, to where you don't really feel like you have choice in the game. I really don't like that. I always feel like, well, what am I doing here? I'm just here to help the crew, and so here's my cards that you can use. You might as well be playing solo. I'm just handing you my card, I hate that kind of thing in cooperatives. Yeah. However, I really enjoy cooperatives that have a hidden trader type of element.
Ooh.
And so I mentioned this before when we did Woods of Evergreen, I forget the year right now, but, Shadows over Camelot has that hidden trader, which I just love that, and that whole Arthurian theme. I love that game, and it's cooperative.
I think you're talking about Battlestar, aren't you?
Battlestar Galactica. And this, of course, is the rebooted version, and my son and I watched all the episodes of the new show, and I grew up, back in the 80s watching, the geeky, cheesy one.
Yeah, 1979, 1980.
Yeah, way back when Starbuck was actually a guy. Now Starbuck's a gal, but I kind of like the new Starbuck, actually. She's just gritty, and I like it, actually. So I didn't know how I'd feel about it because they changed the character, but I like the whole new feel of it. I like the old one, too, because it was nostalgic, especially with Lauren Green. You gotta love Lauren Green. But I like the new guy. What's the new Commander Adama? I forget his name.
Hello. The actor. The actor. Not Lou Diamond. I was thinking Lou Diamond Phillips. You're thinking Miami Vice. He's in Miami Vice, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, I just think it's great, and I love some of the expansions that come with Battlestar Galactica, too. Mm-hmm. So you can get the Pegasus and Discovery, and you get all this. You got that hidden trader. You could have two of them. I remember having this memorable moment going up and playing at an Extra Life tournament in Fargo, North Dakota at Paradox Games with Lance Meister. And we get in there, we're playing the game, and he goes, "I'm the traitor." And I'm going, "You are the traitor." And nobody would believe that he was the traitor. I go, "I know he's the traitor. He's the traitor. He's the president. He's got to be the president already. And he's traitoring us." And they just wouldn't go along with it. Yeah, sure, what happens? I go to jail. I get thrown into cahoots because he was the traitor. Big fun.
Yeah.
Super, super fun. Thematic. Great.
Yeah. Played it once in French when I was learning French. I kind of got to grips with it, and it was fun. It's weird that it's never come out again for some strange reason. Maybe I'll resolve that.
Well, I love that game. So we had some good games here. We got Stone Age, which we both love. We both like Dominion. Mm-hmm. We got Dixit, Battlestar Galactica, and the Woods of Evergreen have some good companions.
Yeah, and in the chat we have Le Havre as well. From Camarinian?
Yeah, from Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then, there's other games he's mentioned there, Cosmic Encounter, that he has, that he doesn't care for.
Dislikes.
Strongly loathe entirely.
You said it with his pirate accent.
It'll be fun to see when we come around to 2008 what we select next, because it'll narrow it down and probably be a little more diverse opinions on that one.
Yeah.
So with that, we are going to move on to our last segment. It's the Babble topic. But before we do that, we are actually going to talk about our sponsor, our other sponsor, Academy Games. Academy Games, I tell you, Uwe and Gunther Eichert, I love these guys. They're just, they have done such a great job bringing educational games in high quality production. The whole Birth of America series, 1775. I love that cube grabbing, card playing, area control. It's just fantastic. Playing it 2 players, playing it 4 players. 1754, Vikings 878. These games are awesome. I mean, if you haven't played that series, man, I cannot recommend that higher. Freedom, the Underground Railroad, an amazing, thoughtful, educational, cooperative game that I actually really do enjoy. A lot of tension, well produced, very thoughtfully produced with the subject matter. Amazing educational game. And one of my favorite games that they've produced is Mare Nostrum. This is this huge, sprawling... I love Mare Nostrum. In fact, we were just talking about it. I have all the extras. I bought all the poker chips with all the resources, the great big honkin' neoprene mat, and I cannot wait for us to get together again and play that big, wonderful game. Academy Games, I got to tell you, when they put their stamp behind their games, you know it's something significant. It's something that they've thoughtfully designed, and there's not a stinker in the bunch. It's that good. I've known Gunther and Uwe for a while, and I just when we talked to them about sponsoring the show, it was because I really felt that they were a company that I'd want to be associated with. I wouldn't do it I don't care about the small amount of money that we receive. It just helps us a little bit with our podcasting fees and so forth, and helps Barry with production. I would never do that for money with our sponsors. It's just, these are companies I honestly believe in and have experience with. So I trust them, all of that. And, if they produced a game that I didn't care for, I'd tell you I don't care for it. But these games are awesome. So.
And now it's time for the Babble, 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 Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble.
Wow. The 4-year point. I know I kid about it being 3 years because it just seems like it's been in a cycle of 3 years in my head, but time has definitely slipped away. And I just find it so amazing. I know a lot of other shows that they'll have guests come on and have congratulations, things like that. We talked about it for a second, and I said I don't have time to coordinate that and all of that, and that's all wonderful for everybody, but I just couldn't believe that, gosh, we've already done this for 4 years. Yeah. I mean, Barry, that's amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like hard work, though, because we've been doing it when we have the time, which is one thing that we're totally different from every other podcast, because they try to stick to a schedule of doing something, churning out stuff every week. They have their programming, they have their list of what they need to hit. They have their hot games, the new games which have just landed, and they need to be on top of their game and their form. Whereas we are just two guys hanging out and having a laugh.
Well, I think that's really important point you bring up, because we'll talk about kind of the origins of how we started this show. But when we first talked, we'll talk about that in a few seconds, how we met. But when we did come to that point of saying let's do a show, we talked specifically about why are we doing it? And what are the expectations? And, you know, our show is 4 years old. It's growing in popularity. I mean, we're getting a lot more downloads now since we went to iTunes and Stitcher through the Libsyn, you know, evolution. That's something we'll talk about. But, I mean, now getting, you know, over 1,000 downloads to an episode and things like that are really significant, awesome achievements. And yet it's such a little bitty blip on the radar. And, you know, when you start something, if you're like me anyway, I always want to achieve. I always want to do something great. I always want to put my whole heart into whatever I do. There's nothing that I've done in my life that's just been half-assed. You know what I mean? I just, forgive me there, but I just don't, that's not who I am. Whatever it is, I'm going to give my whole heart to it and do the very best that I can do with it. And to me, that's the definition of excellence. Excellence is not being perfect. It may not be the best, but it's doing the best that you can do. And when we both started this, it was like, we're not doing this for accolade. We're not doing this for fame. We're doing it just because we enjoy each other's company, our styles. We're both goofy and silly and random, and so we enjoyed that. But we just wanted to talk about board games and hang out and have fun.
Yeah. We just wanted to talk to other people as well. It's you know, for me personally, it's a different level of an open door, which I don't have too many open doors. Being in France, you know, I can talk about board games, but they're in French, and I can't really express myself 100% like how I feel. And to have this channel here is so much fun, and it's so invigorating for me to be able to go, right, this game is crap, and not be laughed at because I pronounced the word crap wrong. But yeah, it's fun. I used to do a lot of radio podcast editing way back when I was a teen. We used to make radio plays, and so I mixed sound effects, and we ad-lib scripts and made some funny, stupid stuff. And this plays off of that. This is me mucking around with the audio and mixing and you know, having a trip down memory lane at the same time. It's you know, I don't know, it's just something that I've always loved doing, and why not do a podcast, a real podcast, and you know, share it with the world instead of just keep it on a cassette and listen to yourself, you know.
So tell me what your recollection is of our meeting. When we first...
Way back, when I was developing my review channel, you got in contact with me, and you just started out in the Dice Tower. I think I was coming to the end of my Dice Tower reign, and you were asking me for help about, you know, mixing videos and editing and bits and pieces. And I was thinking of doing something slightly different and on my channel, you can still find it on Board Games Everybody Should. There are some videos where there was about 4 of us, and we would just have, I would pose a question, and then we would just spend an hour discussing it. And we had like Chaz Marler on, and we had Jamie Johnson on, and of course yourself. And we had a good laugh because we just let our hair down and just talked about any old crap that we wanted to talk about, used our imaginations, and had a good time. And then you said, well, why don't we do a podcast? And so we bashed our heads together, and we said, well, if we're going to do a podcast, we need to do something different. And we were, you know, streaming ideas off of each other.
That was a great point, because that's basically my recollection as well, is that I think one of the things that was notable for me when, as a Dice Tower contributor, you were doing things that were different. Your personality, your humor, it's zany. It's slightly off color, not real negative off color, but I mean, it's so different. And I loved it. It was goofy and silly, and I love that kind of humor. You know, I enjoy your style so much that attracted me to reach out to you just to just to say, gosh, I really like this guy. I wonder what he's all about. And as we began to get to know one another, it just made me think, well, gosh, I mean, we would spontaneously go into character voices just by talking with one another.
Yeah.
And you
Not
would
so
have
much
100
now.
impressions. Yeah, we got to get back to our impressions. Our impressions will be back. So, and we just had so much fun together. It seemed like, well, why don't we try to put together a format so that we could do some segments, but do these segments in a way that are different than anybody else that we knew were doing. And that came up with you writing the music for our intro and our extra and our drops and all of those kind of things, so that we actually had somewhat of a format.
Yeah, and it was always coming up with ideas, because you listen to podcasts and it's always like the same thing over and over again. Oh, what game did you play? Oh, I played this game. It was good. It was bad.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah,
Well-
the hardest part, I think the cruncher was having games as segments of our show. So when we have a guest, we created a game show around it. When we did Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it was a kind of game show trying to guess if that person thought it was good, bad, or ugly. And now it's expanded into, explaining the game, trying to guess the game, and then guessing if it's good or bad or ugly. And those are the kind of things which bring the conversation alive. It's not just someone reading off a list of words. It's interaction. I'm not really a big talker. I'm someone that, if I have a long chain of words to say, they do get lost. I do lose my steam, and I forget what I'm talking about. I'm more of a quick one-liner guy.
Yeah. That's what I love the fact that we started with the game show for guests, because we started bringing in industry notables, industry media personalities, or industry designers, or industry publishers. And man, we've had a potload of those folks on the show, some of them more than once. And when we introduced the Whose Game Is It Anyway, we have the 3 segments in there that are kind of 20 question-ish, but we're guessing what games, and they're showing us components, they're showing us a drawing, we're doing 20 questions, we're getting clues, we're asking questions. That became so much fun. I remember the one show not that long ago, and we've been doing this for a while, but with Scott Alden from Board Game Geek. And when he got done with that, he goes, "This was really fun. I don't know why anybody hasn't done this. This was really awesome." He goes, "I didn't even know you guys were doing this like that."
Yeah.
And it was like, he's an industry guru. I mean, he's
watched everything.
And he loved it. And I remember the time that we had
Marty Cornell.
Stephen Bott.
Marty. and his drawing skills.
Yeah. We had so many good moments with friends that are even now are becoming friends. And it's just been a great way to break up the show too. Like one week we do this show that it's just you and I.
Yeah.
And we get to do some of these segments of things that we're doing and talk about our lives a little bit. So hopefully viewers, they're actually seeing who we are as people. And what you see is what you get with me. You're going to hear what I'm thinking. You're going to see who I am. It's not all polished and professional. You're going to hear me say and stupid. I hear myself on the podcast and go, crap, that's not very professional.
Yeah. And I think the other big clincher was the fact that it was live and people could watch it live and join in and chat, as well as watch it afterwards, because I'm a visual comedian. I'm not, as I said, I'm not a very good speaker. I'm not very literal. I am more of a one-liner or one-word joke kind of guy. And obviously over the years I've developed and become a bit more confident in myself and been able to learn new words and and copy Berkey. But yeah, those were the main elements. Having a game show, having fun, and being live for people to see. Because, you know, when you listen to a podcast, yeah, it's fun. But if you actually see the people and see the jokes that they're talking about and whatever, it adds just another element. It's more
well,
of a chat show.
I think that's a really good point, too, because we wanted to engage the community. It's not that we were looking for fame or adulation. I think if that was our goal and that was our expectation, we'd be very disappointed because sometimes, you know, the job is thankless. You put a ton of effort. I listen to a lot of shows, and when I hear your professional audio edited version of what we're doing right now, it's wonderful. It's as good as anything I hear, and that's, in my opinion, I know I don't care about listening to my own voice. In fact, it irritates me, but when I listen to the show and I listen to what you do with the drops, I listen to how you'll bring in some voice inflections that you've practiced for the, you know, our wizard voice and things like that. They're wonderful. They're so much fun. I put it on and I have the phone running and somebody's there. I said, yeah, we do this silly little show, and I just turn it on for a few seconds and everybody just smiles. Well, to me, that's what matters. It's, you know, we were able to hopefully make an impact in people's lives. It was kind of interesting because Jimmy Hudson from the Board Game Closet asked a post about, you know, what makes you want to create content? Why do you do it? And I said, this is so interesting because Barry and I just had a discussion about our 4th anniversary show, and we had this exact same, you know, it's not for adulation because it's too small, it's too niche for us to do this for any other reason than the love of the hobby, the love of our friendship. That's why we do it.
Yeah, we just do it because we enjoy doing it, and we just want to, you know, do something different and stand out but not stand out. I don't know if that made sense.
No, it absolutely does. It's like it's not for fame. We didn't do this to monetize it. We have some help and sponsors, but that was not our goal to monetize this. This was never for us to become tabletop or any of the awesome shows that we enjoy. I don't have any fault finding for those that do that.
No.
There's no problem in my mind with that. But for us, if it grows. If it doesn't, we're going to just have a good time talking about board games. Yeah. We're going to enjoy our friendship, and I hope, you know, one of the things that I do hope is that we make a valuable contribution to the hobby, that we impact people's lives positively.
Yeah, that's the thing. And hopefully change board game publishers' opinion on how they make their games.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we help people find a new game maybe that they hadn't played, or our opinion maybe helps them in their decision making, and hopefully just by how we live our lives that perhaps that helps people and encourages them in their own lives. And sometimes just a show like this, I cannot tell you how many times listening to a show. Remember when we had Jamie Kagi on the show?
Yeah.
From the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast?
Yeah, Mr. Really smooth talker. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean, he's so professional. He's so awesome. But he was in the middle of his first Kickstarter, and he was so stressed out about that. You know, it was like he was wanting to go full time, and it was just very and understandably stressful. But after we got done with that show, he said, Berkey, you do not know how much I just needed that. I needed to get all that stuff off my mind and just have fun talking about games. And so if we can provide some entertainment, some content that encourages people or gives them a little something that improves their lives, to me, that's a win.
Another thing which I kind of hold dear to my heart is the fact that, you know, I don't want to be a self-produced. I have to. One of the things that I felt when I was doing content for the Dice Tower is I felt that I was being pressured into producing something every week for the board game breakfast show. And after a while, it's like, well, if I produce this, then it's like half-hearted because it's not really a good idea, or it's slightly a good idea, but it needs work. I kind of... It was disheartening. I didn't want to be like a mass-producing churning machine. And again, this podcast is that. It's we sit down. We don't sit down, but we have a think. We brainstorm. We leave that script written for a week, 2 weeks, so we can adjust it and go over it and see if there's any ideas. We've got plenty of time to think about what we're going to do before we do it. And we're not just like, right, I've written this script. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. It is. It's a case of we're not manufactured to like churn stuff out. We just do it when we feel it, and when it's good, and when we think it's good, and when we think it's important.
It's like music. I think music is something that you need to feel, and I feel it. I feel the emotion of music, and so I've produced music CDs and sung professionally for a bit, and I've done things in that seems parallel. It's not that it's a performance per se, but it's an outlet. And when you're creative, when you feel pressured, sometimes that can really be stifling to the creativity. And so all of a sudden it's no longer real. It's no longer organic. It's all of a sudden it's performance. So now we have to look good because we're expected to look good. We have to produce, and then it's today with the cult of the new. It's all about the hotness, and if you don't get the first scoop and the pressure, especially if you're a bigger channel, to continue to maintain your audience in all of the noise. Yeah. I mean, there's a million people. It's so much noise. Everybody's trying to get your attention, and it's like, I hate that pressure. I don't want that pressure. I want to enjoy what we're doing, because I don't need to do this professionally. No. I mean, I want to do a good quality, don't get me wrong, but on the other hand, we want this to be, really, like you say, when you said half-hearted, we want to be full-hearted.
Yeah. I want to be here. I want to be talking to him, and I want to be talking to you, and I want you to answer to me and tell me stuff.
But that's a good point, too. And, as the business has grown for me, there's been a pressure for me on time. I don't get to play the games that I used to play. My hobby has become much more work-focused right now. And until we go to another stage and I'm able to bring on the team to manage things better, my life has become that. And so there's been times that we've had difficulties getting together because of our schedules. And yet, in my heart of hearts, I cannot wait to get back and do this. Because it does bring me a lot of joy. And just from a personal standpoint, Barry, your friendship has just... it's meant the world to me.
Oh, dear. I'm going to have to put some sad violin music in the background.
Feelings.
Yeah, this is
whoa, feelings
episode. This is probably very boring for you. You probably switch it off.
Whatever. We're doing it because we're having fun, right?
Yeah.
I got to meet you at Gen Con. Good grief.
Yes.
I mean, we're friends for 3 years online. Never met. All of a sudden, we meet at Gen Con. Paul Grogan films this little segment of us running towards one another in slow motion. Then my wife and I get to come to to Essen. Yeah. And we get to enjoy each other in Germany, but then we get to go to your home and meet your wonderful family and spend time in Paris together. Good grief.
And now we got the UK Expo to go and hang out and have fun with.
Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the things that are valuable to me. Relationships are valuable to me. In the hobby, I want to develop relationships, and sometimes that's not easy, but that's always my heart's desire. And the relationship I've developed with you over time continues to grow and is very important to me. So I just have to thank you for your contribution to my life, because it's been really awesome.
Well, that's all down to you contacting me and begging me to do stuff with you. So No, it wasn't like that, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's just been it's just nice to have another outlet, someone different to talk to. I mean, you are kind of like affected by your surroundings. I've probably said this before in the last podcast, but you know, when I'm with you, I'm a different person than what I am with my wife or with my best friend or with so-and-so. You know, the game of Jamaica that we played together, I felt like a child again. I felt like I was with my best friend from school and we were just hanging out doing childish things. But we were actually playing a board game with other adults. And they were enjoying our company. So, yeah, I mean, you bring out a different side of me. And I like this side of me, especially when I'm with you. And I like being with you. It's a shame that you live so far away in a cold place. We have to chisel out.
Right. Well, and outside of the podcast, we've been able, if one of us has had a disappointment or something of that nature, we've been able to have the relationship beyond the public relationship online here with this. But hey, do you want to chat? Yeah, let's chat. Or yeah, I'm stressed. I've been really stressed. What are you up to?
Yeah, and those 5-minute chats turn into like an hour and a half, much like the podcast did. Written in the show notes, this segment is 20 minutes long, and it goes on to 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's always off the rails. Always off the rails. Well, last questions. We wrap this baby up, but I wrote the question. And I'm going to ask it to you, and then I'll tell you what I think. But what's next?
The future. I've been thinking about this. As long as we're still alive and we can do this, I'm going to be doing it. If the media changes, the media changes. You know, if I mean, at the moment, Facebook seems to be like the place to do this kind of stuff. The chat. I don't know with Facebook. You'd have to save it somehow. But I prefer. YouTube is a good place. And unless another media outlet comes along and replaces it and we can do like 12-screen mixing and whatever, then yeah, we'll go along and we'll do it. The future is the future. As long as we're still doing this, I'd be happy to an extent. I'm the one that's got to cut out all the times you cough and sniff and ruffle your beard and open up those cans of whatever you've got there. I don't know if it's like raccoon pee or whatever.
Yeah, this is Raccoon Tycoon Pee, Coke Zero.
It's like, oh god.
So Coca-Cola, this is a sponsorship opportunity for a very significant podcast.
Yeah, the future will be us still doing this as long as we're living and breathing and we're still playing games, of course, and we still have time for each other, which I'm sure we will do. We may reach episode 100 in 6 years' time, but hey, who cares? We've had fun. It's been a long, slow slug of a road, but we got good memories.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Tony, you are very welcome. He just thanked us both for sharing all of that and that he thought it was great. And we're so grateful for all of our followers that do listen to us. I mean, it's wonderful. The interaction we have in the chat every time is always very much appreciated. We love to have the listeners join us. Yeah. We generally do it at noon during a weekday, which seems to get us a pretty good group of people that during their lunch breaks in North America anyway can kind of tune into. But you can always watch it later. And I think that's been a benefit of YouTube. And like you say, maybe there's some opportunities to do new things with technology where we have both channels running at the same time. Who knows?
Holograms
so that we can
projected into your living room.
Just cartoon us.
Cartoon us, yeah.
Yeah. But, we'll try to stay, attuned to what's happening with technology and continue to improve. We always do want to do the best we can. But mostly it's that we're going to just continue doing what fuels us, and that's enjoying the hobby, talking about the hobby, sharing with you our lives, And that's basically when I thought, what's next? I said, I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't have a plan. We didn't talk about that question.
No.
I don't have a 5-year business plan for Berkey and Badger like I do for Game Toppers. You know, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
So I think it'll evolve. And hopefully it will continue to grow and continue to encourage people. And
as long as it's free, then it doesn't matter, does it? You know, all of this stuff that we're doing now, all this this is free because I bought this a long time ago. This is free. This technology is free here. You're watching this for free. You're not paying anything. And as long as everything is free, we'll be doing it.
Well, I think with that note, I think we can move on. If you haven't heard of Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble before, you need to crawl out from whatever rock you've been under we are everywhere in the world, right? Okay, no. It's very understandable if you've never heard of us. We are minor internet superstars.
Don't worry, Netflix will become calling soon.
They will, and Amazon Prime. You know, we're in negotiations right now for being bought out by Amazon.
That would be good.
Yeah, we're very, very prolific people. So, with that said, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher Radio, Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble Show. On Facebook at Berkey and Badger. On Twitter, Berkey and Badger. Instagram, Berkey and Badger. On the sign in front of your toilet, Berkey and Badger. That's where Barry finds it, but and then he flushes it.
It's plastered all over my computer, as you can see.
We also want to thank our longtime sponsor, Arcane Wonders. Thank you so much for believing in our show and helping us, produce it and just being a support to us. Tony Galati, Scott Morris, and Brian Pope, the owner, all along this progression. We're just very grateful for that. And Uwe and Gunta at Academy Games, thank you so much for putting your trust in us. We're grateful to have your sponsorship.
Yeah, thank you.
And and all the listeners, again, thank you very, very much.
I'm going to have to play more of their games. Where's Sheriff gone? Where's Sheriff gone?
Well, with that, I think you got any other words of wisdom and before you send us out?
You're asking one-liner guy for words of wisdom. What planet are you on? Seriously. What planet are you on? You should know me by now. Words of wisdom. My words of wisdom, they come to me in the most inappropriate time. I could be sat on the toilet and something magical will happen in my brain and oh yeah, must write that down, and then by the time I've got to the pen and paper, it's gone like the wind or the thing that I flushed. So yeah.
There you go.
Words of wisdom.
Well,
there's my words of wisdom. Now I should use my phone. Use the phone. Dictate those words of wisdom into your phone. That's the answer for everything. Your phone. Your iPhone.
Yeah.
Your smartphone.
I'm waiting.
Sorry, I get carried away there. I thought the people need a good laugh because of all that kind of
feelings.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Feelings.
Okay.
Hey, it's been great. Thank you all for listening, and we look forward to our next show. With that, you can send us out there, Badger.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. See you soon. Thank you again for listening to Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble. This show was written, produced, and performed by Kevin Burkhardt-Smyer and Barry Doublet, as was the music too, with a little help from the Balance of Power. Although the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme was composed by Ennio Morricone, and background effects were supplied by Sirenscape. Enhance your gaming at Sirenscape.com. Join us next time where we might have a special guest or we may review a game. But either way, there'll be more craziness and more babbling.